Hey, what's up, guys? I'm not gonna do too much long of an intro because you can see that literally I'll refresh the page so you know I'm not even lying. 3 minutes ago, I uploaded my DNS video for the studying I did, and then once I upload this video, you'll be up to date with where I'm at. Sorry I took a break from recording. I've worked two jobs today. You can see the time, it's 12:16 a.m. and I only have till 12:45 to keep doing these notes and videos, and then I need to move on to some other stuff that I need to get finished today. But yeah, I want to thank you guys for the people especially who've been watching. I'm thinking of doing a little coding sidetrack, but I don't know how much I want to actually upload to the channel without it becoming congested. So I'm gonna get this video in, and then maybe I'll do some more cool stuff. I think I have business cards coming on the way, so I'll definitely make a video about that when those come in. So let's actually get moving on into this video. So in the last video we did DNS, which I literally just uploaded, and we've been enumerating these different services we had. So I didn't do a security plus lesson today because I didn't have much time, only an hour and I think 20 minutes to go over this. So I had to get through it. So I took a break from studying for a bit, so there's a bit of a recall that I had to do. So as an assessor, if we see TCP 445, what it is to tell us, and it tells us that port 445 is telling us basically that the host is offering SMB services. So that is something we can test. We've done a full video on enumerating SMB and testing domain permissions with Kali. It was uploaded a week ago. That was day 12, and you can see I look much different with all that hair on my head. I did get a haircut. So yeah, go check that out if you want to learn how to enumerate SMB at quite a basic level, I'd say. But then we have, what's the difference between authentication, share, visibility, and authorization? Thank the Lord, this isn't just authentication and authorization, because that'd be like the 20th time on the channel we've mentioned that. But authentication is proving your identity, who you are. Share visibilities is okay, these are the shares you can see exist, but that doesn't have anything to do with the permissions. And authorizations are what permissions are you granted once authenticated. So what can you actually do within those shares, if anything? So why could Alice see finance in the share listing but still receive access denied when trying to use it? I just said because share visibility versus authorization. You can dig more into that. Get it? You can dig more into that if you want to. But then yeah, we did that. We just did that in the past video, and we did this in the past video. So if you really want to see the answers to these and see me go over it, just make sure you check out my enumerating DNS video, and you can learn more from that. So yeah. Okay. So we're gonna go into LDAP theory. Let's actually, how is LDAP pronounced in cybersecurity? LDAP. Okay. So I've been doing, because I was thinking you can either say LDAP or you can say LDAP. I don't know what people say. I'm gonna call it LDAP. I did not mean to refresh Microsoft Teams. Okay. So it stands for Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, and we got to think about my AD project. So I had ChatGPT make this quick graph. We have kevinlab.local, we have the organizational units, we have our users, computers, and groups. And that information has to be accessed and stored somehow. And ADDS maintains a directory, but LDAP is one of the protocols used to query and interact with that directory that we're talking about. So Active Directory is the directory slash database of enterprise identity information. And LDAP is really a protocol used to ask that directory questions. So some examples of questions would be, give me information about this user, or what groups exist, which users are members of this group, what computers exist, which organizational unit contains this object. And so we have distinguished names. There's a bunch of random topics here that I thought had importance for LDAP that I needed to understand to do a practical. And we've seen so many commands like this over the course of my channel and just through my work. But LDAP needs a way to identify objects within the directory hierarchy. And it may resemble something like this, where you have CN equals Alice, then you have HR, OU equals HR, OU equals Kevin Lab users, DC equals Kevin Lab, DC equals local. So you want to read it from the object outward. CN equals common name, and we have Alice HR. OU equals HR, where OU we know is organizational unit. OU equals Kevin Lab users, and then the domain component is Kevin Lab.local. So Kevin Lab.local becomes DC equals Kevin Lab and DC equals local. Base DN. So when querying LDAP, you need to establish where in the directory should my search begin, because it's kind of like that lateral movement topic I've went over, but you want to know where in the directory should my search begin, and my domain's base is DC equals Kevin Lab and comma DC equals local. So conceptually, we're going to start there in the Kevin Lab.local directory, and we're going to then go beneath it and look for more, and that is called the base DN. I think DN stands for domain name, but I don't want to say that like in specific, like that's fully 100% guaranteed. So the LDAP attributes. Now, objects contain attributes. A user could have information such as SAM account name, distinguished name, member of object class. So LDAP isn't simply just like give me Alice, like give me that user. You have to request structured properties describing Alice that you want, which we'll see in some commands that I'm going to go over that I did in my practical. So this authentication slash bind is before LDAP lets us retrieve particular information, the identity matters, and it uses the concept of a bind to establish an authentication context. This is important because therefore, in order to actually get information from LDAP and query with it, you need to authenticate. It's not going to give away anything to random people connected on the network, which is good as an assessor and as a defender. I mean, if you're a hacker, then that's not so good for you. But if you're in it for the good side, then yeah, that's good. So you have Kali, you have an LDAP connection. Who are you? Then a bind slash authentication is established, and then directory access according to the permissions that you're given, which is done with authentication and then authorization once authenticated. So why does an assessor care about LDAP? And suppose an ordinary domain account can legitimately query directory information. They could learn about domain structure, users, groups, computers, all that. So we don't want random people in the domain to be able to do that. We want there to be permissions and restricted access. So we have a guided practical here. We have the target. I went ahead and verified the IP address because it's been a bit. And to do that, all you have to do is just do ipconfig on the Windows machine to get the IP address. So we wanted to confirm LDAP, and we've done this nmap command many times. We're just going to focus on the specific port of 389. I also did a SV flag in a later command. I just don't have a screenshot of it to look at the service version detection, but all this command does is prove it's reachable. This command isn't showing you, hey, there's a vulnerability. No, it's just showing you that LDAP is reachable. And then that's why we do this enumeration to kind of figure out, okay, are there any weaknesses with LDAP in the first place? So like DNS with dig, for LDAP, we have a command called, our command tool called LDAP search, and it's a common command line LDAP querying utility. I guess it's not a tool, it's a utility. Same thing, maybe not. But the general structure is you type LDAP search, then connections has authentication options and search options. So there's something called root DSE, and it's a special entry. It's basically tell me basic information about the directory server itself, and you do not need to be authenticated to actually run this command. So the command is listed here: LDAP search flag X, flag H, LDAP, and then the IP address, flag S base, flag B, and empty quotes, and then some attributes: default name and context, naming context, and DNS hostname. So the X flag is going to use simple authentication behavior rather than SASL for this query. I have no idea what this is yet. We'll learn about it in the future, but for right now, not important. Just know we're using simple authentication behavior. Flag H is the URI of the LDAP service. Flag S base is we're only searching the base object itself. And then flag B is an empty base DN here is used to query root DSE. So this is used when you only want to search the base object itself. And then we're saying that the base object is root DSE by leaving it empty. And then we requested some attributes here. So as you can see, when we run the command, it's going to give us like the default name and context and this right here. And then that tells us, well, the server tells us this is the directory name and context for the AD domain. And that basically, that's going to act as the base now for us to start the LDAP search. So DNS enumeration gives us the LDAP server, and then LDAP root DSE gives us a directory structure. So this kind of shows us the structure of the directory. Um, so next is, can anonymous access search the domain? This has to do with, okay, let's run the command, and but we're not authenticating, we're not providing a user. So we want to see, will it show anything? And so we change the base now to that, and then we're just only searching the base, and then object class all, and you can see here, in order to perform this operation, a successful bind must be completed on the connection. And obviously there is no bind because we did not, sorry about that, we did not authenticate. And so it's not going to work. So then we move on to using a normal user. Welcome back, Alice. We don't want to use admin because admin will let us do anything. So we add this D flag here and this W flag and this object class. We're looking at users, and the D is the identity used to bind. So you see we're using Alice to bind because that's Alice's account. And then the W will prompt for the password. This asks for the user objects, and then we just have our attributes here. I just used this note for myself. I reset Alice's password last time, and this just helped me think in my head, okay, well, what is it? Because I use the same password for all these test accounts. And you can see here, it goes through a bunch of users on this. And yeah, it gives us a lot of information. You can see all the users here. You see Frank, you see Alice, my IT account, Sam from sales, Frank from finance, all the good stuff. And so then I gave myself a little independent project of, can Alice see the security groups in the domain? The only thing we really had to change with this command was changing the object class to group, and I just did name and distinguish name, and she can see groups. But this command right here will specifically do security groups. I don't fully understand this command, but I had AI give it to me. This will fully give you the security groups if inside Kali if you wish to enumerate that way. So this wasn't too long of a session. I think we finished the episode quite quickly, faster than normal videos, but I hope you were able to learn from this. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll try my best to answer the best I can. But that's all we have. I just grinded out 2 episodes, and I want to thank you all who have been supporting the channel and helping me out here. And yeah, I'm just getting a bit tired now, so I'm going to end the video a bit soon. Not going to do too much outro conclusions. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.